Mark Gatiss and
Martin
Freeman, and possibly Stephen Moffat.
They're filming the new season of Sherlock, through there. We're in the Cardiff Students' Union right now. We're contemplating staying around, but I don't think we're going to, but we're breathing the same air.
We've walked the same steps that they've walked.
Yes.
I'm not being funny that way. It does smell really good in here.
It smells really good.
Yeah, the whole union smells really good. So I think that's probably what it is. They're affecting it. But yeah, we're hunting Benedict Cumberbatch. My Freeman might be here.
He is here. They're all here.
Should be.
Current stage of post-exam boredom is reading books and lying in a bed chair thing. That is my life right now. This latest video is a bit cut up. The first half is us chasing Benedict Cumberbatch, pretty much, through the SU, which you should have just seen. And a bit of context to the next video I'm going to show you. Trying to get rid of the glare. I was lucky enough to be given the opportunity to speak at a conference for CRECS at Cardiff University's Romanticism thing that they had for their first year anniversary. So the next video you're going to see is me talking in front of lots of professionals, which is very, very scary. But my lovely housemate Emily was good enough to video for me, which is very exciting. So yeah, don't be too harsh, I was very, very nervous. But yeah, see you soon.
Poetry. Generally when we approach text, generally we approach it from the feminist point of view, for example the psychological as we spoke about earlier today, and then we consider the rhetoric, as normally as a subsidiary and as part of an essay. However, I believe as part of the Romantic movement, rhetoric is actually fundamental to their very ideology that makes them who they are. I believe they use it as a way to justify their position against the Enlightenment works that preceded them, justifying feeling, emotion, and everything that they try to embody within their work. For example, and it also transcends and uses as they manipulate the rhyme scheme and rhetorical questions, which I'll be discussing. For example, the rhetorical power in the manipulation of poetic form can be seen in the sonnet London in 1802 by Wordsworth. The sonnet form here is unusually twisted, as in the octave they use the traditional Petrarchan form. However, in the final sestet, there is an unusual balance within the rhyme scheme. This manipulation allows Wordsworth to stress tensions within circumrhyming words at the end of each line. For example, Wordsworth aligns free with sea, suggesting the Wordsworthian trope of imaginative freedom, and also aligning that with the empowering nature of nature and how it is free and unbounded, I suppose. Later on, he then connects the heart of the Romantic philosophy of feeling with a part. Now, in the first example, free and sea, this is a very positive association to draw between the two words. However, between heart and a part, this creates a tension and suggests what might be missing between the two. For example, with rhetorical questions, it's probably one of the most commonly known forms of rhetoric that is encountered. For me, William Blake is one of the people that stands out best for me in his use of it. For example, in The Lamb, he questions the little lamb who made thee. This questioning innocent narrator from Innocence begs the question how they actually came to be. And this, for a romantic, is a very important question following the Enlightenment, following scientific progress. If you're focusing on feeling, and as you're a religious person like William Blake, how can you come to be in this ever-increasing scientific and industrialised world? However, the lamb in this is answered in the second stanza by the little lamb I'll tell thee, from the experienced or arguably godlike and transcendent answer. However, the counterpart to this, the tiger in Experience, has unanswered rhetorical questions running throughout the whole poem. And although there are book-ended stanzas on each end of the poem, through each stanza the rhetorical questions question a different part of society. For example, in the first stanza, the forest of the night can be seen to be representative of the French Revolution, the political pamphlets of the period which represented forests and the ideas of burning within them, and depicts the violent nature of the revolution in which they lived. And while depicting the forest and the night with darkness, and also aligning it with the revolution, suggests that nature isn't quite as perfect as it used to be. In the second stanza, what hand dare seize the fire questions who their true creator is and their power to actually be able to harness and create a human being or any form of being. In the third stanza, the biological makeup of individuals is questioned as to what form of deity or creation could actually create such a complex being. The fourth stanza raises issues of the industrial evolution. What the hammer, what the chain, in what furnace was thy brain? With a notable reference to the Blakean idea of mind-forged manacles and what can, and the mental constraints upon the Romantic poets and the people at the time. The fifth stanza references the transcendent nature of God with the stars threw down their spears. This is then continued within Holy Thursday in the experience where they question the immorality of the way that religious institutions and high powers affect innocent children. For example, fed with the cold and usurious hand, is that trembling cry a song? Can it be a song of joy with so many children poor? And it ends with the explanation of that it is a land of poverty. The ending with an exclamation point highlights the inhumanity of the subject, and through the repeating of the rhetorical question, leads the reader and manipulates them into feeling the exact same disillusionment that Blake feels himself. No direct answer is provided again, as there through all of the experienced poems within the collection. There is no direct answer provided, no justification as to why we as human beings experience these and why these aspects, if there is a God, an omnipresent God, why these aspects of society must be present in a just world. This form of higher unseen power leads me on to discussing Shelley's poetry, particularly intellectual beauty and Mont Blanc. For example, the unseen power that is repeated through intellectual beauty and the power that is repeated throughout Mont Blanc shows that there is no clear justification for the powers that appear to bind the world. As the atheistic Shelley proves, potentially their saviour lies in nature through the sublime in nature and not necessarily through God. For example, he says, "Thou hast a good voice, great mountain, to repeal large codes of fraud and woe." This brings ideas of nature and legislation and the constrictions upon nature, as William Blake had already slightly alluded to, the difficulty in being able to try and pinpoint and restrict nature. For example, in the chartered Thames of London. Shelley thus uses, where Blake will directly speak about some form of higher power, Shelley suggests that there is a phantom, which is never given a name. We're never sure if it is the part of the Holy Trinity or if it is just some being that he believes could be there. This some phantom which will illume our tempestuous day, to quote from England in 1819. But there is never any justification. There is always the rhetorical question of the poet himself asking who. The rhetorical question of the whole movement going, if not, then why? If we shouldn't be Enlightenment, then why should we focus on feeling? And the justification going, we should be doing this, right? The arguments against restrictions within society is a fundamental driving force behind Romantic poets. With Blake revolting, as I mentioned before, with the chartered Thames, highlights the impossibility to imprison nature and the mental aspects of freedom and water. Shelley then moves on to speak about the ventriloquization of poets being the unacknowledged legislators of the world, which for me feels like a justification for the rhetorical questions that have been given before, saying we are powerful, this is what we are doing, we are giving voices to the feeling and the emotions that people have been unallowed to ventriloquize throughout the Enlightenment period. However, in the previous mentions of a chartered Thames and of constrictions, the fact that Shelley makes and aligns the poets with legislators, I believe, is interesting and potentially could cause a form of tension between their ideology of freedom and what they actually do. For example, the use of language, they have to use language to define the feelings, which obviously doesn't have any form of, it is the closest they can ever get to explaining their true feeling. And it gives a tangibility to the process of feeling in their current sociological climate. However, through this use of language, they inadvertently reduce the world through the classification of it through language, and hence the rhetorical question leads our imagination to question why.